Hello. Today's topic is the package and then what the daily routine is. These are some of the features that is a requirement of my company regarding new real estate agents that are, getting out there and communicating. There's a bunch of topics that we're going to talk about, and we're going to get specific on a couple, and there's some other videos that we're going to kind of delve in. We're just kind of hitting the high tops today. All right, so the package. One of the things that you really need to ask yourself is, what is the recipe that you're putting together regarding, being a committed licensed real estate agent in the state of Michigan? And then so, what your job is, as far as I'm concerned, is to provide a pathway to the customer. And depending upon if they're a seller or a buyer or both, there's a lot to that, and we're just gonna kind of cover that stuff. One of the biggest things is, what's the motivation of that client? I really mean this. It's like one of the things that should be on the forefront of your conversations with people coming up is, what is their motivation? Why are they doing what they're doing? And please establish a time frame, because as I've talked about in other videos, the line keeps moving. You'll talk to somebody, and it's one of the frustrating things about this profession is that in many situations, you might be talking to one of the principals, and there might be another individual that they've just got a whole different idea. If you got to figure out who the decision maker is, and if they're making that decision jointly, or what's going on, and the line will move. You got to take their temperature on every conversation. It is so incredibly important to put down your notes about why they're moving in the first place. And I covered this on other videos about, not only is it your job to provide service, it's like your job really is to take and provide a pathway for those guys and adapt to those guys, provide them customer service. So let's just, one of the students said, I asked the question, what do you need? What's the package that you're putting together? And they said, well, to talk to somebody and communicate, we need to know the lingo. I like that. And really, it's talking points that'll be consistent. There'll be consistent threads of talking points that you'll repeat over and over and over. One of the talking points is, what do you have now? Do you want a little more? And you're going to find out quickly what they like. Something that's not on the board is you can ask people how many square foot that they're in. And this is really good. Get a piece of paper and a pencil. A lot of people are challenged with this, and it's so easy. A lot of people are spatially challenged, that they do not know the square footage of their property. And then so here's something that you can learn and use. I'll ask people, well, how big's your bedroom? A lot of bedrooms are like 10 by 10 or 12 by 12. Do you have any idea about how big your bedroom is? Right? Because that's a really good starter. There's a lot of homes that were built in the 30s, 40s, 50s that a lot of those bedrooms, they're just, they're standard. They're 11 by 10, 110 square foot, or they're 12 by 12, 120 square foot. So, it's a really good thing to get somebody to visualize that, to make them stop and think about, well, how big is my home? And then ask them the question, well, how many bedrooms would fit on the main floor? I mean, just about. There's no test here, right? I mean, you're just talking, and, to figure out, well, is there 10 bedrooms that could fit on the main floor? Or how many rooms could that be? And they'll just say all kinds of crazy stuff, but you'll have an idea and a starting point. Ask them if it's a 2-story home. Whatever the answer is on the bottom, then double it. Is your basement finished, right? You kind of want to ask how many feet that they're in, because that will give you an idea of what they're in and then what's the next move for them. So a progression of that is, why are you moving? A lot of people, they move for just crazy reasons. And some people, they want to get closer to their church. Other folks, they want to get closer to their work. Other people, they want to get away from their neighbors or their family. They want to move out in the country, which, So everybody has a reason for moving. What's yours, right? And then spatially, people that are challenged figure out how many square foot that they're in. Do they want more or do they want less? And then ask them about the amenities that they've got. What's the favorite thing? What is not the favorite thing? So by when? By when is such a great term because it's like you can use the word tentatively on the front of that. Well, let me ask you a question. Tentatively, when would you want to make a move? Spring, summer, fall? It just rolls right off your tongue. And there's no pressure. Oh, we're just talking here, right? If they are going, this is not on the board here, don't make them homeless. I should actually stop the video and put that on there. If somebody is selling their home, this is a really important talking point. Don't make them homeless. They're not living in my house. How about yours? So it's a really good idea to ask them tentatively, when would you like to take possession of your new property? Isn't that good? Tentatively, I'm just kind of wondering, when would you like to move into your new home? It's like we want to make sure that this is seamless for you. We want to make absolutely sure that this is a great experience for you, and I'm just kind of curious. Tentatively, when would you like to take possession of your new home? Isn't that good? Find out whether they have to sell before they buy, if they're a seller. That's a huge one. Right now the market's so hot, it's just crazy. It's like, if somebody has to sell their present home before they purchase, it's very challenging. And what my suggestion is that have they talked to a loan officer about the possibility of getting a bridge loan? Have they talked to their loan officer? What's their current payment? What do they want to invest into their next property? I mean, these are all going to be questions on a sheet that you can just, ask them one right after another. I mean, but tentatively, it's a puzzle, guys. It's like you need to remember what's going on with that client and provide service to them. And don't make them homeless. They're not staying at my house. Pre-approval letter, do you have to sell before you buy? You can ask people this question. You're the licensed real estate professional providing service to them, but you can ask them, well, tentatively, what do you think your home is worth? I'm just asking. I mean, do you know what your neighbor's home sold for? I mean, I'm going to be providing you a professional market analysis on this property, but, do you have any idea about what your home is worth? You can ask that question. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to cover 5 factors here. I'm just going to rattle them right off. This isn't something that you need to memorize right away, but it's like you should know this. Ready? When I talk to a seller, I think it's really important to get that seller to put themselves in a position where they look at the market and then look at the competition and then look at the services that a real estate agent provides. So here the language is. Well, what my understanding is, and you may have something to add about this, but it's my understanding that a seller, what they have, they control the price, the terms, and the condition of their property. No other individual, the seller controls that. If you want to put your home on the market for $1 million or $100, I just have no control of that, Mr. Seller. Price, terms, and then condition. The terms, it's like many people, they just want cash and only cash. They want no financing on their property. However, let me share with you 92%, statistically, that's the number that I got. Statistically, 92% of all people that purchase a property, they need financing. They need a conventional mortgage or an FHA mortgage or some type of financing. 92% of the population, if you only put cash on your home and put it out there for the general public to purchase, your chances will be extremely diminished. But still, the seller has control of the price, the terms, and the condition. Now, the competition, that's number 4. Competition, and I just explain it simply as this. Mr. Seller, what my experience is that it's like you have a lot of control about your home, how it looks, And what I really want to get into next is that we have no control of the competition. It's like if somebody across the street wants to put their home on the market for $2 million, you can't stop that. And it would be to your benefit if they did, right? If they actually sold it, you know, for $2 million. Or if it's a really quick sale because they're really motivated, because they're whatever their motivation is. They don't care, they're moving out of state. There's personal situations too that, you know, will determine maybe they're behind in payments, or, you know, something catastrophic happens, or it's an estate property, right? Price, terms, condition, competition. Competition, you have no control about the competition. And then a real estate agent. The services that a real estate agent provides professionally are what? The following are: I expose your home to the market. I make sure that the contract is written up and that we make absolutely sure that there's representation regarding, you know, the seller's wishes. We control and help the seller steer that transaction and get the end result. Most people, when they sell a property, what do they want? There's three things: highest price, quickest sale, fewest problems. And that really depends, right? Because it's like sometimes, believe it or not, highest price is not their goal. They just want to get off that home because they're transferred to New York City and they got to be there next week. And their family is still in the house because they need the money from their home to purchase the next one. So listen to the motivation of the client that you're working with. Pay attention to the client and do what the client wants. Imagine that. So your job to provide service, right? 5 factors: price, pre-approval, buy when. There's a lot of information there, and I'm going to talk briefly about the buyer, and then there's going to be more to this, but we're going to wrap this up. So the thing that I didn't talk about is the buyer lingo. So one of the things that I always ask somebody is that, are you renting now? Do you want to invest that amount of money or stay at that payment? That's really good language. It's like, I'm just wondering, Mr. Purchaser. It's like I talk to a lot of buyers. Some folks, they want to invest more than their rent payment into the purchase of the property, the next one. Have you talked to a loan officer? Do you want that payment to stay where you're at about, or could you invest a little bit more in regard to the purchase of a property that was yours, right? That's a real good starter. How many square feet are you currently in your property? Have you heard that before, right? How big is your bedroom? You know, most bedrooms are about 10 by 10 or 10 by 12. That's about 120 square foot. How many bedrooms could you fit on the main floor? Is that what you want in your next purchase? What do you have now that you like? Do you have a garage? Would you like a garage? Would you like a pole barn? I mean, like, look at, it's like, what does that customer want? What do they have now? And do they want a little bit more? Anybody that is probably living, you know, are they living in an apartment complex or a house? Figure that out, please. Just ask appropriate, respectful questions. Possession. When do you want to take possession of your next property? Currently, a lot of tenants that I talk to are in a lease. When does your lease break? When does that end? I just want to make sure that I don't make you homeless. Take care of that client. Now, a pre-approval letter is really important. There are so many different types of financing out there. You can get online and, you know, they'll promise you the world. What my recommendation is, even if you're working with an online broker or that client is working with an online broker, is that have them get a pre-approval letter in writing physically in their little hand that they can print off. Why do I say that? Because sellers are from the show me state. It's like whenever a seller sells a property, it's like you don't have to have a financial pre-approval letter for a buyer to take and make an offer on a property, but I'd sure recommend it. It's like you want to make absolutely sure that the buyer has something in their hand along with that offer, because the other real estate agent representing the seller is sure going to want to tell the seller, if they're doing their job, is this guy able to sell their home and close within the amount of time that the purchase agreement says? And what proof do we have of that, right? So if the individual has not went to a loan officer, if they don't have a pre-approval letter, if you're working with a buyer, I would sure recommend strongly that you get them to a loan officer and, get them pre-approved. Have that loan officer run a credit report and review that credit report with that purchaser. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. You're serving the client, in my opinion. Is there any properties that you currently want to see? You called me on XYZ, it's a 2-bedroom home. In addition to that, are there any other homes that you would like to see now? Please don't miss that. Somebody calls you on an ad call. I mean, there's folks online that they're screening through hundreds of properties, and you're just one of them. Ask them, would you like to see that property? And in addition to that, are there any other homes that you have on your list that you would like to see? Are you currently working with another real estate agent to service you, to provide service to you, right? I mean, you want to ask those questions. You want to find out, are you working with someone to help you out? Do you have it's okay to ask them if they have an agency relationship, and has anybody ever went through that with you? Did you know in the marketplace that there's seller's agents working for the seller, that there's buyer's agents? I can exclusively work for you if you'd let me. Are you currently working with another real estate agent? Why not? Why not ask them that? What is your email address? Did you get the email that I sent you? Tentatively, when would be a good time to talk to you next? I just want to make sure that I can provide service to you. Man, there's a lot of follow-up questions that, that you can just ask. You can ask. It's like, what's the package that you're putting together? What's the recipe that you're going to do this? Are you going to let this client slip through your hands? What is it that they want? Can you provide it to them? And are they having fun? Like You Trust You Need You, right? I really recommend strongly that you figure out what they want and then help them get it. It's your job. There's a lot here. We're going to do more about, seller lingo, talking points, buyer lingo, and talking points. Calling somebody back and making sure that they got it is an excuse for you to touch base with them. This is a game of tag. Don't ever forget that. If somebody's calling me to make sure that I've received information, they're just doing their job and following up. If they don't want you around, they're going to tell you. They won't return your call. They will, just ghost you. I mean, the whole name of this game is, it's like, did you touch them last? Can you say that you touched them last? Did you send a tentative appointment? Did you get a feel of their time frame? And then can you reach out to them? If they say, call me back in a year, you're going to cut the time in half and call them back in 6 months. If they say 3 months, you're going to take and do everything in your power to make sure that that client got followed up with, because you're just another next. I mean, there's a whole bunch of competition out there. It's like, unless you stand out, you don't stand a chance. Make them like you. Make them know that you're going to be there. Provide them a pathway. So take care of that client. I really appreciate you watching this video, and thank you very much for taking the time to do this. It was a long one. And, like and share if you found this, entertaining or educational. My name is Michael Ross. I'm the broker owner of Grand Rapids Realty. Please call me anytime. Thank you very much for watching my video.